Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and we are just hanging out. Gonna start building up some Horus Heresy. Now, this is a crazy awesome game that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I actually got a run through a demo and had some things explained to me on last weekend, actually. Pardon me, this is probably the last stream I have before I lose my voice. COVID has finally made its way to the Griggs household, so... And fortunately... It's alright though. We're all double vaxxed and boosted and all that kind of stuff, so... Not super worried about it. Okay, so Praetor with the sword is one. With the axe is a completely separate kit. Okay. Now I typically do not build and do streams, but I'm very excited about these guys. And it's been a bit. I need to hang out with some friends. How y'all doing? Hello from Kansas City. What's up? Heyo. So I hear to hear you're not doing well. Oh, that's all good. Mine is just kind of manifesting as like cold symptoms. My poor wife, she has the chest problems and like coughing and that kind of thing, the brunt of it, but we're doing good. Let me just get a new hobby knife, or blade rather. Excited you're doing this. Yeah, I plan on doing a lot more detailed pictures over on my Patreon, just to try and thank people who support me directly, but I am unabashedly very excited. Now, a few things up top here. If you had watched the, The Emperor Protects, the show that I've been doing with Dan from Cubic Shenanigans, you'll know my favorite legion thematically is word bearers. However, that's not what I'm painting these guys as. You might ask why. Well, it's a few reasons. What am I looking for? 13 and 10. Yeah, they are. I'm actually going to be building a Sons of Horus army. The reason has to do with a few things. One, I really like their scheme, like their paint scheme. I love that green. But also, I'm going to say just as importantly, is gameplay reasons. Like, not rules-wise per se, but rather, I wanted to have a legion where Forge World makes a loyalist and a traitor hero, and the word bearers don't have a loyalist version. And so, I was like, well, okay, well, let's open this up a bit. There's a lot of legions I like lore-wise. I just happen to enjoy the stories of the word bearers the most. What else do I like, and what factions have a loyalist and traitor model? And, actually, I'm gonna go helmetless on this guy. I like it. But I opted to go with the Sons of Horus because the Ezekiel Abaddon kit comes with Lorcar's a loyalist. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But I decided to go with these guys because I like the green. I was actually toying with the idea of Emperor's Children, which, if you know me, is probably the craziest thought ever because I very ardently don't care for Slanesh stuff. But I do love the Cacophony Marines, the ones who use like sound weapons. I think that is the jam. But instead I went with these guys because I really do want to have the Abaddon and Loken models. The Lunar Wolves or Sons of Horus are all over the place, so they'll always be story relevant. Like, with the exception of the Betrayal at Calth, which admittedly is my favorite single battle of the Horus Heresy. They're just about everywhere. Let's see. Hey Doug, just taking care of some life business. Working on the tank model. Hopefully it'll be up shortly. Okay, oh yeah, shoot me an email, whatever it is. There's no rush. I will go ahead, like I said, and promote it as much as I can. I owe you that, if not 1,000 times more. Happy to see you alive again, Doug. Wishes for all the family. Horus Heresy has been dope to follow along. Oh, thank you. What's your legion, Doug? I'm going Sons of Horus on these ones. I want to focus on the green that they have and have my troops. So I did a video about it. It went up, I think, yesterday, but talking about how there is actually quite a bit of freedom when it comes to Horus Heresy. It's not like the one scheme they make is the only one that's okay. And the reason that I can say that is because in the Forge World books, which sadly they no longer make, or those big campaign books, I should say, it's a very specific kind of Forge World book. But in those, they had multiple color schemes for each one. They had different color plates to represent just different offshoots of various legions, because as they went different places, they achieved different battle honors, and they would reflect that on all their gear. So I wanted something similar to that. Something where I had a little bit of flexibility. There's plenty of lunar wolves all over the place. Now you can't see it. I have no way of magnifying this camera to show you, but these arms, as they slot in, there's very specific angles and stuff like that, so you can't get anything wrong. Like they're not, they're like the next best thing up from snap fit in terms of like, you really can't F it up putting, for example, this guy's going to be holding a two-handed axe, so to mess up the angle on the arms would be hugely annoying. I'm sure all of us have had one of those models back in the past where it's held together with nothing but profanity because the arms got messed up. Ooh. Getting ahead of myself, missed a step here. 7. Wargaming really too hot, get it 2+. Thank you so much, buddy. I'm actually going to be working a bit this week on some merch and stuff like that. I think I have some things that people would like. I'm going to make a shirt that's "Why is this cool?" It's my question to the world. Game designers, if you can't tell me why your faction is cool in a very short amount of time, what are you doing? Let's see. I'm working on my... I'm sorry, if my hands are frozen, it's because I'm looking at the screen. Working on my Seraphon list again. Nice. Contrasts all day long. I think contrasts are perfect for Seraphon, if I'm honest. Boom. Slides together. Oh, it's beautiful how well it slides together. Okay. I would love a shirt with you on it, hands on hips with a quote, but why is this cool? Oh man, I don't think that I could emotionally handle seeing myself on a t-shirt. I do not possess the requisite ego. Okay, got that. Okay. Didn't even realize this thing on his hip was a pistol. I thought it was like a canister or something. But, you know, gotta have at least a couple parts that are so small that they're painful to people with fat fingers like me. For some reason his head doesn't want to sit down. Yeah, okay, I got the angle right. Am I right in thinking you once sold an AOS battle mat from around the first edition era? I did, yeah, I actually still have one left. They were a death-themed battle mat. I really do like the design, I still love it. The thing is, we set up all kinds of estimates and stuff like that with the USPS to have like mass shipping and get it all out pretty easy. And then by the time we actually got the product in hand, they had said, actually, JK, all of those things, null and void, we're not going to honor them. And they reneged. And so we had this product and it cost so much to ship that we were like, no. So we sold the one batch out and then that was about it. But yeah, that was, I mean, originally before using my channel to market and basically do promotions with other game companies, I wanted to do something on my own. But it just kind of seems like, you know, life happens and things just kind of never worked out in that regard. That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna glue a bunch of stuff on. That'll be a sight, the Death Watch roll up to kill a hive tyrant and the bug just shouts, Horus, what have you betrayed us? I'd be down for that. There are the dots. Okay. They're like very almost easy to notice, but the pauldrons on the arm are lined up with these two teeny little dots. That are very easy to misplace. Definitely got that upside down. Awesome. And ammo thing on his butt. Not gonna lie to you, I don't care for the little ammo patches. Okay, now we got 11 and 5. What legion? Sons of Horus. Yes, I am doing Sons of Horus. I have always been terrible at remembering all the various numbers for the legions, and I don't see that that will change anytime soon. And 11. Yes, I was going to do the word bearers at one point, and then I had a change of heart. Not too drastically a change of heart, though. I'm still a Traitor Legion. It didn't. The heart didn't change where it matters, you know? Let's start with the easy one. Perfect. That's not confusing at all. I don't introduce myself as the second of 4 sons. Yes, I know. I know, I never cared for it. Whenever I see, like, it's because I've been on a bender lately of listening to various YouTubers take on the Horus Heresy, the lore videos that are already out there from a few channels, not all of them. But yes, the referring to legions by their number rather than name is a great way to draw a line between the people who are very, very into the historical aspect, quote unquote, of the game, and I'm just gonna say everybody else. Because everybody else looks, oh yeah, those are Ultramarines. They're like, no, this is the whatever legion. You will call them by their name. And you're like, oh my god, dude. Thunder Warriors should have been kept on ice and unleashed the Imperial Palace. Almost getting run over. That'd be cool. I'd watch that. Really, I wanted to do this. We have a local guy who is really into Horus Heresy, like even before they announced the current edition that's coming out. And he has, I think, 3 or 4 like very complete collections of various legions, and he was helping me understand some of the rules and how they all work. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna be building using the Rites of War. Using this set to build a Pride of the Legion army for Sons of Horus, so that makes Terminators count as troops to an extent. I'm excited. They're cool. What legions have you guys all chosen, if you have chosen one? Or if you want to talk about something AOS, we can do that too. Willie, you get yourself a few questions if you want to direct the topic. As is always stated, whenever someone throws a coin in their tip jar, I will happily talk about whatever they want to talk about. So, Willie, what you want, my man? In the Horus Heresy novels, there's few surviving Thunder Warriors. Nice. Opposite of you, initially planned Sons of Horus, and nice. Okay, so I got this bad boy. $20 F. Okay, G. Oh, Okay, that's neat. I'm just kind of appreciating the cleverness of how they 3D sculpted all these folds into the fabric. These little bits just kind of lay in there, and it makes it just about a perfect cape. That is very clever. Yeah. Let's see. This one did not cut out so well. Like 99% certain this will all be covered up by a giant axe. How do you feel about basing laying flat? Basing laying flat, I'm not sure. I played against Nagash and someone tried to place him sideways on a tree, but bases have dimensions for a reason, I would think. Oh, you mean like wobbly model syndrome stuff in terms of like if a model can fit somewhere? First up, I'm just going to say whoever in the ever-loving hell tried to put Nagash sideways, I don't know if it's your friend, so I won't say anything mean about it, but that's a dick move. And if it's a friend, that's why you can tell them it's a dick move, right? Don't care for that at all. To me, what I usually do, in general, I play, if a model can't stand there, then it can't be there. Now that's, of course, for me, but that's also because I really, really enjoy taking a lot of pictures, and that to me wouldn't look right? You take a picture of the battlefield and it's all cattywampus, if you will, and that would just irk me. So no, but also like when you get to a certain size of model, it begins to matter in a different way. So like if I have an orc boy, right? I play Savage Orcs. We got an orc boy on ground, and one of those 20 losers is at an angle. And I look to my opponent and I go, is it okay if he stays there? And they say yes. That is one thing. But a model with the size and mass of Nagash, if that thing falls, is a very good chance it's taken somebody else's models out with it. And I'd be like, I'm not playing against that. I don't want it to fall on my stuff. I don't care how balanced you make it. We're playing a war game. Things rattle around. Stuff gets moved. Nope. So, no. I would not. I would... is my go-to word. I would not be happy at all. I honestly... because I've had this happen, what I actually did was I stopped everything. I said, listen, let's just talk this out for a second. What is it you're trying to achieve? And can we make that work any other way than having this model count as being vertically sideways? And if the answer is no, then no, I don't want you doing that. You know, I think a lot of times it's easier to just be like, hey, what were you intending, right? I mean, let's get that out of the way first. What did you intend to have happen when you did X, Y, Z? I forgot this one little part of the row, but it's just this little bisection in there, and I do not care enough to rip apart all the gluing that I did. So it will be totally hidden because there's not a conceivable way to see that back there. So I basically I said like, okay, hold up. What are you trying to achieve, right? Or is it you're trying to get in range of a spell? Or are you trying to do whatever? Like, and just ask them. You know, I mean, they're not giving away a plan that you cannot foresee coming. I said, what are you trying to do? I said, well, I'm trying to get in range so that this guy can shoot this other one, but be out of range of this other thing. I was like, okay, well, before you start moving models like a dingus and putting them all upside down, sideways, to the left and to the right, why don't we just measure stuff out? Like, just communicate. Let's figure it out. And most of the time, the situation, you know, a lot of times it's just like, well, why doesn't he just move here instead of there, kind of a deal. And so once you reveal an option for them that they maybe didn't see, then I've had most people relent and be like, okay, I won't do this stupid thing. I think I've never had to stop a game because I was just having so little fun with somebody, but I've definitely like just gone through the motions and at the end of it said, I'm not gonna play again. Or he was like, yeah, let's do this again sometime, and I was like, let's not. What? Why? I didn't have fun. I understand models laying flat is 100% ideal, but like you said, Nagash trying, yeah, of course, and that's the biggest thing is like it's not it's a case by case scenario. It's not like a one answer for everything. I don't care if a grot tips over in the middle of your 40. I'd rather not stop the game and watch you scramble to reach into your pile of monkeys to get the one grot and stand him up. He's fine on his back. Archaon is different. Forgive my silence here for just a sec. I just gotta get these little awards he's got on. Gotta give him a medal. His Horus Heresy participation trophies. Interesting, it does not say which base to put this bad boy on. I assume a 40. He's a boss. But I'll check before I glue anything down. Oh yeah, why would I put the back ammo pack on him? The cape covers literally all of him, the entire back half of him. You can't even see the missing parts of cape under that cape. What a... okay. Let's see. Hey, I want to make an all Primaris Minotaurs army. Would I potentially be wasting my army as they're in a weird spot lore-wise with Gilliman replacing the High Lords? I'm going to be totally honest with you, DS. I don't know enough about the lore for 40k. I mostly know about 30k, and the Minotaurs aren't there yet. What I would say, I mean, I'm just going to give you my honest opinion, is I don't like when people say something is problematic with the lore. The lore exists so that you buy models and do whatever the hell you want. So everything, you know, Games Workshop police are not going to kick in your door and harass you about it. That is my opinion. So if you want to do that, like have that specific Minotaurs army, they're not going anywhere. Minotaurs aren't going anywhere. They're not going to delete that. Nothing Gilliman is going to do. I cannot foresee Games Workshop ever writing a story where a named chapter is utterly useless. They even have some stuff in their White Dwarfs about like, this chapter was nearly decimated and this kind of thing, but there's still a few troops left, and here they are. Like, even legions that are all but chapters rather that are all but annihilated is still there because somebody likes them. It's a good story. Let's see. Wargaming Willie, does flying come into play in any phase other than movement? So flying specifically, you ignore intervening models and terrain. So it does affect your movement in the charge phase. You can charge over things when you fly, or you can charge over stuff if you fly. But it doesn't affect like line of sight or anything like that, if that's what you're asking. Anything that involves movement for the most part. The homie Kenobi, saw your video recapping Vault Wars, and you used the idea of the purple mohawk pig for the shaman. Yes. Yeah. I couldn't not. I was painting that guy up, and I got to the part of his hair, and I was like, oh, I mean, there's only one option. You got to go Bebop. And he's a hero model, so it's fun to have a little more fun with those guys rather than individually crafting a billion little orc differences. If Black Library does a World That Was series, i.e. Horus Heresy, would you find the lore interesting as the history for AOS, or would it be too warmer fantasy oriented to cover? You know, my interest has nothing to do with the settings. I like all different kinds of fantasy. The struggle that I always had with fantasy battles is the corpus of knowledge needed to be able to talk about something is massive. Like, for example, I did when Soulblight, their book was coming out, I went, and at my local store they had a whole bunch of old White Dwarf magazines. And so I greedily snatched them up. They had all the issues from when the OG vampires were debuted as their own book in fantasy battles. And I did videos talking about the lore, because as far back as then they had cool characters and all these things. And that video got actually'd into oblivion. But here's the problem. There's information that they're pulling from sources that I didn't know existed. So because there's so much knowledge and so much of it is out of print, it is absolutely inaccessible for me as a person. Never mind someone who's like more casually interested in lore. And so that has always been the problem, is because, you know, I get enough things wrong every time I open my mouth regardless. But when there's like entire series of books that I don't know that exist, like that gets really difficult to source information for and stuff. How do you make a video when you don't even know you have the whole picture or even part of it? And so that's always been my thing with fantasy battles. It's not so much that I don't like the story or the lore. I actually really do. I think it's very compelling. But getting into it was always just such a pain. Anyway, to answer your question, if they were to do that, would I cover it? Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, because I think that Games Workshop now would approach the subject with an eye of how do we hook people. And to hook them, you have to give them an opportunity to learn what your intellectual property is about. And honestly, I think they put themselves in a really nasty position at one point where they allowed online content creators, some of which are bad actors, no names, please don't need anyone hopping at me, to take the reins on educating their fan base and introducing them to the game. So you get people with morally dubious channels who, like them or not, are the only source because the main company was not educating their consumers or doing a great job of bringing new ones in. And what you get is a recipe for disaster. Now, I'll be honest, this one does not sit in here nearly as nice and flush as the other one. Oh, but it looks good. Don't worry, you are the hum actually for AOS. Oh, far from it, my friend. I get so much crap wrong. I mean, it's never anything big. It's just like, maybe I misname a battle. Like the Battle of the Burning Skies and... what was the other one? There's another big battle. But I always get the two confused, that kind of stuff. It's never anything massive, but... I've always told people, whenever anyone... uses the title of lore master and me in the same sentence. It's like, I'm not a lore master. There are people who know this stuff far more than I do. But what I am is a presenter. I always like to call myself a passionate presenter. Because knowing something and being able to communicate it are two different sets of skills. That's why we have historians and we have teachers. There's a difference between knowing and educating. And I don't do 2-hour-long lore marathons because, one, I get tired of my own voice and don't want to edit it, but also the bite-sized chunks in 15-minute increments, that's how you make things consumable. People digest the information and they walk away from that video having learned a little bit more than they knew before. This is the way, says Doug. My current court army are a bunch of bloodied Grail Knights. My logic is that when they see their delusion in comparison to their minion. Oh, that's awesome. I like it. Chronomancer, that's awesome. You're one of my favorite lore master. Oh, well, thank you. That wasn't meant to inspire a thank you. Or a praise, I mean. I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I do appreciate it. Have any of you ever used the actual, what are they called? Like, the little tool that Games Workshop makes to remove the little, like, sprue nubbins? I can't remember what it's called. Mold line remover, is that it? Nubbins, that's the only word I could come up with. Okay. Seam scraper, I would accept that as well. That sounds more legitimate as a product. Nope. Still not doing it. Guy still got a cape. I'm not putting that stupid little ammo thing on him. I refuse. If Horus himself busts into this room and tells me to do it, I'd still say no. use it. To be honest, I find the back, the non-cutting side, works well for scraping. Yeah, it's kind of been my thought. Oh my gosh, the GW tools are also pricey. That's the thing, is like I need like a stellar review. I need someone to be like, Doug, I bought this. My marriage improved dramatically. My taxes suddenly got filed on their own. Like, I need that level of enthusiasm on a product review to get me to buy a Games Workshop tool. I know I'm holding one, but this was a gift. And it's actually broken. The little spring thing that kept it together fell apart. 11. Where's that bit? Pardon me, y'all. If you're just joining me, COVID arrived finally at the Griggs household, so we're sorting through. That's why I decided to stream. I was like, well, I don't know if I did some videos today and I got them all scheduled, and I was like, I don't know if I will be having a voice for the next couple days, so I want to hang out with friends while I do. Enjoy the contrast paints. Nice. I even have some Army Painter speed paints. I haven't tried the Army Painter ones. I was the one YouTuber who never got sent any. I'm okay with that. I already have so many paints. Army Painter was so kind. They sent me a whole bunch when they released that build your own like dungeons kind of kit, the terrain set. So I was like not gonna go bother them and hit them up. Any thoughts on Games Workshop's announcement today about new products? Was there an actual announcement? Because all I saw was like, get ready, the future is coming, and other corporate speak. Hold on to your paradigms, because they're about to get shifted. Yeah. I never care for Games Workshop, the non-previews. Like, it's not a movie trailer. You're not trying to tease anything. You don't need to, like, tickle the balls, so to speak, as an expression. Just say it. What are you selling? What are you selling? When can I buy it? And how much does it cost? That is a preview. In that it is a portent of things to come for a business to sell products. Kind of like whenever they release a new edition of AOS, like, or not a new edition, but like a new story arc, you'll just see like the logo and like Broken Realms. It's like, what is the Broken Realms? I don't know. It seems like you guys would have all the answers to that. Could you answer the question that you just posed? What could it be? All right, guys. It seems like you just don't want to talk about it yet. Maybe you shouldn't put the logo out there. Let's see. Nope, that's all they had. Any baseless speculation? Well, they've already made contrast paint, so my baseless speculation is they're inventing a new product called exposure paint, which is the same but opposite. That is my wild guess. He's like, oh yeah, let's see Army Painter come up with one of these, and just like keeps throwing crap out there. In actuality, it's probably a it's likely a form of wet palette or something like that. That's that's a hunch. I feel like if it was a bigger thing, like a large release of a whole new paint line, there would be more pomp and circumstance. And yeah, I don't know, because like when you use exposure paints, do you really gain more social media followers? No, I'm talking photography, but yes, maybe oil paints, they seem all the rage. I'd be down for that. Not so much the price point that I think Games Workshop would sell them at, but it'd be what it be. Did you see Draconith are going to be playable in Soulbound? The Era of the Beast supplement. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, that's a bummer. This guy broke on the sprue. I mean, it's totally fixable. And I'm not going to blame GW because I have moved these sprues just like in piles several times, and I am notoriously not gentle, so I'm not prepared to make an accusation, but heads up. If GW does wet palettes, what should they call their branded palette water? I'm gonna call it purity oil or something like that. Nah, that's probably wrong. I don't know, something ridiculous. I was going to call it like Battle Muck or Battle whatever, but I'm trying to think of a... I guess the real question is, do they lean into the fact that they know it's a money grab or not? Because that's a big distinction. Am I losing my mind? Well, that seems like a silly and unnecessary thing, but okay. Okay, hold on a sec. Hey, there it goes. Couldn't get the lines to match up. There we go. Okay. Hey Doug, I haven't managed to watch your videos yet about the Horus Heresy stuff. Are you for this game? Do you see yourself getting very into it? I see it being probably my only real dive into the 40k setting. Just because I don't care for where 40k proper is at right now as a game system. So, you know, that's one answer. It's part of it. I do see myself playing a bit of it. We do have a local guy who is super into Heresy, and so I am very excited to start gaming with him more and more. Now I did also, in case you're curious, some of the videos here on the channel are called The Emperor Protects. I started a Horus Heresy podcast with my buddy Dan from the Cubic Shenanigans AOS podcast, which is my favorite AOS podcast. Throwing it out there. But yeah. The Emperor's Bathwater. Oh, Lord Veldrick, you win. Yes. Wait, that doesn't seem right. So these two things have to like weirdly go on simultaneously. What a terrible design for assembly. Not so much the model itself. So heads up, if you guys are building these, this here is the Praetor Power Sword. My advice to you is don't put glue on the backpack. Instead, put glue on the cape, lay the backpack down there, and then angle the cape up. Then you can go back and lay glue on the backpack because they kind of all have to like interlock together. And I made the mistake because I didn't understand what the directions were asking of putting the backpack on. Because if you look at the instructions, it says backpack goes in there. It's like, it didn't line up quite right until it was on the shoulders either. Very strange. Boom. Now we just got to get his head together. I think they've made a bit of a mistake by releasing the Primarchs so early for it. They don't all look like the best models. Well, I don't think that they... The story of when they were making the Horus Heresy is interesting because, you know, it was released over several years. So, like, you say that they released them so early. Horus Heresy has been going on since 2005, and they've trickled them out. So people were already, like, clamoring. It's just that they already exist for the second edition of the game, which you and I are now jumping into. So, they're not early. They're, in fact, some of them are quite late. There's just a little nubbin on his helmet that I missed. Because Horus Heresy has been playable from Forge World since 2006, I want to say. That might not be accurate. It might be a little bit after that. But I know that's when the first Horus Heresy book started, and Forge World always releases stuff in support of things. Also decided to get Horus Heresy. Going to run 1,000 Suns. Nice. I will say those are Thousand Suns. If I had to pick an army to play in 40k right now, without question, I'd probably go Thousand Suns. Boom, leaders done did. Le gasp, not orcs? Oh, for my Thousand Suns army? Oh no, instead of 1,000 Suns? No, I wouldn't, because I want something more elite. I don't care for how spammy orcs are in 40k. I need some girth. I gotta have something that can take a shot to the face and not die immediately. To be honest, the GW paint jobs aren't the best to make them look the coolest. A lot of community spotlights have had them. Yeah, I would agree. To me, this is the only explanation I can come up with. I'm not saying it's the truth. This is just what I could manage. I do think, to an extent, sometimes the paint schemes they do on models are less to make a good-looking model and are instead more designed to show you all the detail. So like all the little edges, curves, everything like that, it's all existing to show you, hey, you can do X, Y, Z. I think this is the parts of the Contemptor Dreadnought, and this guy is like 1 billion little pieces. Why? Why would they do this to us? Why would a loving God allow this in the world? This is absurd. Okay. Keatscast, what do you think the new paint tease is? I think colored metallics. I don't know. That's a toughie. Next is Terminators. Yeah, look at this guy. This is ridiculous. I feel like I could spend this time building an actual friggin' robot. Oh, let's bite the bullet. Let's get it over with. Oh, Speed Freaks? Yeah, I could see myself doing that. He looks so chunky. Because the thing with Speed Freaks, didn't they put some limit on them as far as how many everything of a thing that you can take because people were not having a good time or something? That's my understanding, is that there was some limitation put on number of copies that a unit can take. So who were the Death Watch and Horus Heresy? When did they come about? Afterwards completely? Yes. Yes, the Death Watch are their own jam. The Death Watch didn't exist as we know them until Worship of the Emperor had completely taken over the Imperium. Because they are Space Marines assigned to the Ordo Xenos instead of being from a particular chapter. When exactly they came about, I don't know. But I just know that that's how they're connected into the Imperium, which means they couldn't have existed in the Horus Heresy because people were not yet revering the Emperor as God. Guys, I'm having some very strong Karen feelings about this sprue. Like, I want to talk to a manager at Games Workshop and how come they didn't put any of these things next to each other. They make perfect sense next to each other. Why do I gotta search the whole frickin' sprue? Do you think a tank army in AOS would work, i.e. a theme-appropriate vehicle army? I know Mega Gargants sort of mimic 40k Knights. Master Shake, you can do an all-tank list from Cities of Sigmar. They have the steam tank. Probably besides that, the closest thing into what you're saying is Carriage and Overlords with their boats. You know, it's tough. Because as much as I love to see creative army designs and stuff like that, I also... Something that's been on my mind lately has been that if an event wanted to do fun little side awards, been talking with Tyler Emerson, who organized Vault Wars and is a reoccurring guest on Warhammer Weekly. We were talking about, like, I would love to see events that incentivize fun lists and crazy weird combinations of stuff. But the problem is, what an army is, how you define army in Age of Sigmar is so wildly different from other games. So, like, in War Machine and Hordes, there's only a certain number of types of units. There's squads, like units, solos, warcasters, heavy jacks, light jacks, and then there's a few others that came on later, like gargantuans or whatever. None of that really matters. But the reason that that's important is because we can talk about common terms and what an army looks like. Every army is going to have some of those things. But man, when you get into AOS and like a 200 grot army is an army just as much as 4 behemoths is. And it's just so hard to come up with like awards that will satisfy both sides. And it's, I don't know. That's why, like, ideas have been put forward online about, like, hey, here's some cool trophy awards that we could do, like, for fun and participation and stuff. And I see a lot of people tear them down because, like, well, a Gargants player couldn't win this. That's okay. You don't need to be eligible for every single trophy. That's an opinion of mine. But yeah. Golems are better than Imperial Knights. I would take that. Yeah. Aha. Guys, you gotta not put the foot on upside down. That'll help you a lot. Pro tip. Thank you. I have tons of them, led by Reboot Gilliman. I hope that's not illegal. Is he the poster child of the Emperor? Pretty much at this point in 40k, yeah. Although I feel like the Emperor should stop having poster boys because it always seems to end very poorly. Uh, 15, 16, 17, let's see. And 15. What does it look like? A little brick thing. Ah, here we go. Two Carnosaurs, a Bastillodon, and Lord Croak, 3 Saurus Knights for mobility. Nice. I don't know what it would do on the table, but it sounds fun. I would love to see the Seraphon get new Saurus Knights, like in the vein of what old Chaos Knights used to be to their new one. You don't need to change the War Scroll dramatically. It's just the Saurus Knights in particular. I think it's because of the the bulky nature of them compared to skinks. They just seem so static on their mounts, whereas like the change that Slaves to Darkness did for theirs just made them much more dynamic, a lot more movement in the actual models. I think it was a good move. Well, I don't know if I did it right, but it did snap into place pretty happily and aggressively, so I'm going to say mission accomplished. Less derpy cold ones, too. Were you a War Machine refugee after the end times? Other way around. So I actually got into wargaming as a hobby overall with War Machine and Hordes here in just outside Iowa City. Had a wonderful group. They really encouraged hobby, and I just had a great time. Very regular games. I think there was on average about 12 to 16 of us for most things. Wonderful time. Then I moved to Seattle. Okay. For my wife's work, nothing fancy, but Seattle should have been Mecca for all things War Machine and Hordes, and in fact, I had absolutely no fun up there. Like, I would go to game stores and they'd be packed again because the store is right. I mean, Privateer Press is right there, and people would be excited, but like nobody painted an army. Most of the models I played against were like people refused to put the arms on their models so they wouldn't have to commit to it being one thing or the other, which I'm totally cool with from, testing out a unit. You're not sure what you want. But when you have a case of 13 of the same model, none of them have arms, and then you put the burden on your opponent to keep track of what is what. Nah. Nope. Not cool. Not into it. And so that's actually when I got out of War Machine and Hordes just in time. And I was like, hey, wonder what game I want to play. Went to my local store, and they were having a Fantasy Battles tournament that looked freaking baller. All the things that I loved about War Machine and Hordes, they were doing. Big old painted armies. It was rank and flank, but I was like, I'm okay with that. And I grabbed the Island of Blood starter set and this new book that I thought looked so stinking cool called End Times Nagash. And then it all blew up. But I'm okay with that, because it all went away and everybody else was super mad, and I was just like, well, I got a front row seat to whatever comes next. I'm ready for it. And that's how I began in AOS stuff. I was there day one. Not on purpose, really. But yeah. 2+ even at Mox. King Bread, so when I first moved there, Mox had not opened yet. I mean, well, there was the Mox on, what is it? The downtown Seattle one, not downtown, but you know what I mean, north of downtown. Can't remember the name of the actual suburb. There's that one, and then the one in Bellevue is the one that I always went to. When I first moved there, the Bellevue one was not open, so I went to Games and Gizmos, which is now an out-of-business store, and that's most of my game stuff. And then Mox did open, and I started going there to play Fantasy Battles. So for all of you who were dying to know the intricacies of Doug's hobby journey, there you are. Looking for a piece. 14, right? 14. Where are you? Oh, 17. Should be around here somewhere. Ah. Do you expect good things from the new General's Handbook? Will you do any videos for it? Oh, absolutely. Yes. Oh, of course, talk about it. One thing I would love from the General's Handbook is either I want some narrative content in there, because the last one was all match play, which is cool. I'm down for it. So either throw some Path of Glory stuff in there, or have a narrative supplement come out in a similar time frame. That's all. Because it's one of those things, like, I understand. I would completely understand if they wanted to move away from having one book kind of be everything, because I can see that being very daunting to try and produce, especially if they wanted to keep the smaller A5 size, because that you just have less physical room. So there's, like, very practical limitations. So I'm cool with that if they wanted to make it its own thing, but I was a bit disappointed when this last one came out and it was all match play, and I was like, oh. But we recently had the Broken Realm series, and so I felt pretty well satisfied. But going forward, I think it would behoove them to load us up on narrative content. My salt is due, my main army being Bretonia and a kit bashed Stallion. I'm not familiar with that one. It's amazing to see how much more Hordes has died. It's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And there's so many things about that game that nobody else on the market is doing that I thought it did really well. I like the 2d6, and then you calculate the modifiers thing. I really like it. It makes the game, like, I never wanted for understanding in a game. When someone was like, this guy is shooting at them, here's the modifiers, roll the number. Cool. Like, that was always perfect. It is what it is, but I also know that, like, there was just some changes they were unwilling to do. I feel like all the balance corrections they tried to do were just not working. If you ever want to enlighten yourself as to what this industry is like, and I say that this industry meaning Wargaming, not that I am a part of it, but you can go watch go look at is it the glass ceiling, glass wall, whatever that site is, where people talk about, like, they leave comments about previous jobs they've had. The ones you see for Privateer Press are very enlightening. Just in terms of, it seems like the current edition that they are in was really meant to raise the value of the company quickly so that the owner could sell it. That is all speculation. Please understand that. Baseless as far as I know, but that's my understanding from inside the company, and it would explain a lot of the problems with that release. I will admit there was some level of schadenfreude. Because, okay. So, to understand this, because the rest of you have no Boom. Can you guys hear me now? Bum, bum, bum. Privateer press operatives trying to shut me down. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Someone please tell me where I was leaving off in my rant about Privateer press. I have no idea what happened. I'm looking at the little sound line as it's recording my voice, and it just froze at one point. So hopefully you guys weren't hearing just like a solid one note hum kind of thing. I don't know. Someone tell me where I left off. Because I waxed poetically for a while there into the void. Which, to be honest, is all YouTubing is. Oh! Because many of you don't know. Yeah, so this store that we play at, Mox, okay? It caters all different kinds of communities and stuff. And when AOS was launching, I was there playing games with my buddy Shu from Rerolling Ones. And we were playing a game. This didn't happen when Shu was there, but some people did start heckling me because Age of Sigmar is a dead game, dead on arrival, all those kinds of jokes that AOS fans got when the game first came out. In fact, some of the Privateer Press crew, or I should retract that, it's not their crew, it is players of their games, but the Privateer Press scene at Mox, there's a model where a man is being crucified, basically, by the religious faction in War Machine and Hordes, and like someone like put his name as like Sigmar and stuff, meaning like it's just dead, and it was all these things, just heckling. So to see their community, you know, get Thanos'd into non-existence, right? Like the snap, while the AOS community grew and grew and grew there, it put a dark kind of smile on my face, a little schadenfreude as I was talking about earlier. And then my finisher line was, you know, don't defeat your enemies, just outlast them. And that was my strategy for AOS. While Arch and Major Kill and all these other big content producers for Games Workshop games were like, this is terrible, we're not going to talk about it. Doug was like, thank you, I'll take that. Smells like potential. No crap, I was that kind of person. Just crapping all. Yeah. You know. I'm sure you're not a terrible dude. It wasn't an indictment of their character, but it was just, you never know how things are going to end up. One day you're sitting on several armies of a popular game, and the next minute you're Privateer Press. Honestly, I joke. It sounds like bad management. It's a fantastic game. Like, I love War Machine and Hordes. I remember I was a hyper nerd about it. Like, so in Age of Sigmar, I am not competitive whatsoever. I'm a good player. If you want to hear about how I played, go listen to the latest episode of Cubic Shenanigans podcast. I played both the hosts at Vault Wars. I'm a good player, but I'm not competitive. I'm not actively trying to win anything. But I was in War Machine and Hordes. I came in third in several events up in the Seattle area. I can never get past third. I don't know why. It was just, that was the tier. Like, that's where Doug maxed out. But yes, Power Gamer Doug. I basically picked a faction and was like, what are my favorite models? And how can we make them stupid? That's just it. That's all you got to do. And so I would like listen to all the competitive podcasts. I was into the whole thing. Hook, line, sinker. Cool. Well, we've clipped 97 things off the sprue, and we've built 3 parts of a leg. There's still a lot of resentment for the destruction of fantasy battles. You know, it's one of those things to me, because I still get comments. I get comments, most of the comments on my channel are very, very nice and encouraging of players helping each other. Every once in a while I do get someone who seems to be still very angry and hurt about fantasy battles. And at first my emotions were very much like, well, then why are you posting here? Obviously I'm pro this game. I'm enjoying myself. I don't know what to tell you. But lately, and I say lately, like the last 3 years or so, like, well, Age of Sigmar launched in 2015. How long are you gonna be angry about that? And that's an open-ended question. That's not an indictment. Again, and not another indictment on their character. It's just, it's kind of like when you look at couples that fight over the dishes. Are you really fighting over the dishes? Or does Barbara want a baby and you don't? Like, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing where it's like, yes, this game went away. And you can be mad and sad about that. And that's legit. And I've never told anyone to stop on my channel. I've just, redirected it or, said I'm very sorry. Like, I try to meet people where they're at all the time. And then there's that little gnawing feeling. It's like, but is that what you're mad about? Or is it something else? Because if it's something else, we can totally have that discussion too. It's just hard to tell, because some people, they had an unhealthy attachment to it and it got taken away. That's all there is for the matter, they were into it probably too much, that a international publicly owned corporation probably shouldn't be too emotionally attached to anything owned by those. Just going to throw that out there. They follow the money, much to their own detriment sometimes. But, on a human level, it's like, your life is just too short, man. Your life is too short to spend mad about a game. It feels universal that gamers over-identify with their games, like rejecting the game is taken as a personal rejection of them. That could be. I guess... I don't know that I felt that way. I'm trying to think of a game, like a specific game. Because I could see, people rejecting the hobby as a whole, like, hey, all you do is play with toy soldiers, and that could be hurtful, to many folks where this is their safe place kind of a deal. But model building and painting is very therapeutic for so many people. So I could see that, but not on a game-by-game basis. I've never seen it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. I was excited for AOS, but the Stormcast took away the chances of the Empire going into pure steampunk and Charlemagne Bretonia. I'll be honest with you, Chrono. I was also disappointed when I first saw the Stormcast. In fact, I didn't care for the Stormcast look until the Soul War stuff, when they got robes and things. Because the rumors that I was hearing about AOS while playing fantasy battles, at the time I was playing High Elves, was that they were going to be these paladins of light magic, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. And then what we got, I felt like were very bland soldiers, but then when they added the robes and the cool little bits and bobs of necklaces and stuff from the Soul War set, that's when I was like, okay, now I like Stormcast. Now they're fitting. They're banging on all cylinders. Let's see. Let the hate flow through you, Negadug. It depends, because when we talk about gamers, there is no gamers, no broad. It's just people, and people are all very different, and we have different values, different capacities, both emotional, mental. And in terms of emotional maturity is what I'm trying to say. And that kind of stuff. So there is no broad catch-all, and that's one of the things I've tried very hard on this channel is not to assume where people come from. But the amount of like personal indignation and hurt that I have experienced or seen from others regarding fantasy battles is both fascinating from an intellectual perspective and terrifying in equal measure, where it's just like, you never had control over it though. Like, you put so much of your life into something you never had control over. That sucks. Like, I'm sorry. What is this piece? 27. Give me just a hot second to find this one. Yeah, here we go. 27. Most hurdle for the Facebook Empire fans is the lack of common humans in AOS. I'll give you that. I have never been super appreciative of where the cities of Sigmar sit. I mean, I love their backstory, like how they all got galvanized into one faction, but how that's presented in the book with the big model line, it always seemed like a lot. But I love the idea. I mean, some of the concepts they have in their battle tome, I think, are some of the most fun in AOS, like how Sigmar had to purge his own people. Like, oh, that would be rad. So what, that was 30, 29. I went around 10,000 points of Stormcast. Almost have one of every model, minus a slew of special heroes, since there are a kajillion. Yeah, they kind of went Stormcast crazy there for a while, kind of like they do with Primaris Lieutenants or whatever. Is it on this sprue? What does it look like? Let's see. No, that doesn't look right. It's got to be on here. Apologies. I know this is fantastic watching and listening as a man tries to desperately find crap on a sprue, but I am keeping an eye on the chat, so if you want to contribute to our conversation about the fall of fantasy battles and the rise of, or I should say the fall of fantasy battles and War Machine and Hordes and the rise of AOS, I'm here for it. If you could introduce a brand new army in any faction, which one would you choose and what would they be like? Okay. So, if Doug had the ability to make an army, hear me out. Cat people. Yes, I know the furry jokes would be unbearable, but the Khajiit are my favorite race from any fantasy property, being Elder Scrolls. I like them a lot. I would put them in Chaos. I would... what else would I do? Probably give them... like, their thing would essentially be somewhere between Bone Splitters and Seraphon, where they are, while they're a primal culture, very sophisticated in their own right, Chaos Undivided, and they use a lot of beasts to, like, do their thing. Crap on a Sprue would make a great YouTube hobby channel name. There we go. I should start doing that. Anytime I do a live stream, crap on a Sprue. Okay, and then that'll lock in there. Furry jokes would be unbearable, yes. Yes. I think they would focus on a lot on debuffing your opponent. Like using guile and trickery. But Games Workshop, if you happen to be listening to this particular random live stream, give me cat people. Modiphius gave us cat people with their Skyrim game, and I threw money at them. I'll throw money at you too. And as insufferable as the furry jokes would be, I would make it more insufferable for the people laying those jokes on me with all of my Elder Scrolls Morrowind references to the Khajiit. That's right, we're all gonna hurt from this. Firmir would have been a great addition to the Cruel Boys. They were before my time. Kind of feel that way about Tomb Kings for the most part. Like, I came in to the hobby after they were kind of already on their way out. I mean, they existed in fantasy battles when I jumped in, but they were just one of however many armies that a new person had to figure out. So I didn't think much on them. Because I knew I wanted to do High Elves. So they were a bit of a rough one. Okay, I think has us being about ready to start putting legs together. Suppose it has to go like that, right, for the foot to bend. Yep, okay, and then the legs go in there. Doug, think of the Skaven. Oh, like what they would do with a rat population? Oh man, could not eat them all, I say. No Skaven left alive. Interesting. Okay, so you almost have to put the rest of the legs together and then do the feet last to make them bevy out. Okay, okay. I'm here for this. And then you must go on top of the knees, right? Okay, and I can put that in there depending on where I want the knee socket to be. So I gotta pose it before I start really going much further. That is good to know. Good to see someone else plugging away on a Sunday. I've got 10 Mark III Last Cannon boys to do. Nice. I wonder if there could be a way to integrate rank and file light rules into AOS. Lord Vesh, actually, when AOS first dropped, okay, I'm pretty much done building for this point because this is going to take me a second to figure out how I want to pose them. So I'll just answer this one and I'll hop offline. So when AOS launched, a lot of people were not fans of the idea of rebasing. And so they just literally played them on the bases that they had And what makes it possible is weapon ranges. Spearmen have enough of a range to reach forward over the flanks, and you get that same effect. And so people were having fantastic games with this system, literally just playing AOS with rank and file. Like, I mean, there was no wheeling or whatever. You just turned as much as you had the distance for and things. But yeah, Wargame implying it would take military concepts from in real life. Also, good job proving my argument. No one could not hear a horse from behind. Yeah, because magic wouldn't hide the charge. Rational Ginger, I'm not sure I understand your discussion. Anyway, so to your point, Lord Vesh, yeah, I mean, it works. Like, it really does. Now, it worked better when the game launched and all the fantasy battle armies were still around because they had a lot of infantry and typically had options for spearmen, whereas a lot of the newer armies, like, say, Kharadron Overlords, Fire Slayers to an extent, all those kinds of things, like, they don't have the same options. And so all right, friends, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We built 2 and I guess a half a model. He's waist up. Anyway, friends, I will catch you all later. Nice to hang out with you, and I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. So I'll get over this cold, be back in time, and we'll hang out then as we continue to build up the Horus Heresy box. See ya.